Welcome to the PowerHaus Podcast. I'm Gabrielle Caine, and this show reveals what successful people do differently so you can too. We'll dig into the choices, habits, and turning points behind the results and leave you with one practical step to use each week. Before we begin, a quick note. Due to a technical issue, part of the beginning of this interview was not recorded. Rather than delay the episode, I wanted to share this conversation with you because there's so much value in what Deanna has to say. We'll be recording the missing portion separately, so stay tuned for that soon. Now, let's get into the episode.
Those were the two of the places, because we weren't very sophisticated. So when I say we'd have homes around the world, to us, that was, Vancouver Island, maybe California and Hawaii. So we just kept going step by step. So the next step that we could take then became to buy a townhouse. And then we kept a property that we were moving out of. So now we had a single family home. And you just take the step that's in front of you. And as long as it's on that path of alignment towards the North Star, you're going to get there. Maybe not tomorrow, but we're not meant to get there tomorrow. Because I can tell you a couple times in my life, I've had 2 dreams that we've achieved that have made me realize not all dreams need to be achieved. Sometimes it is the journey to get there that is truly fulfilling.
What were those things that happened that made you realize that?
Oh, one was a 1973 white Volkswagen convertible Beetle that looks and sounds amazing. And then when you buy one, you realize how hard it is to drive. I needed another limb to drive that thing. It was wonderful. Don't get me wrong. My son and I bought it and they did lots of work. And then we sold it to a guy who restored Beetles for a living and it went off. We lovingly released it to a new home. And he sent us pictures when he had done some more work. It was great. The other was more of a timing, but owning a boutique hotel that we, life changed and we couldn't dedicate the time to it that we wanted to. And so that one has been lovingly released as well.
So you learned from experience that, hey, this dream was ideal, but maybe not for me.
That's right. Timing was off or life changes, whatever it is. Yes. So I think that's a really great point. Don't be afraid to lovingly release things. That's an important life lesson. And we probably don't learn that one early enough in life.
Fair. Yeah. Sometimes I find that I learn things the hard way. And it's like, oh, well, maybe I just didn't do it right. Maybe I should do it again, but in a different way. And then eventually, after how many tries, I'm like, okay, clearly I'm beating a dead horse on this one.
Yes, some horses don't need to be beat that hard. Yeah.
Yeah. Have you and your husband always been on the same page when it comes to these types of big decisions that you're making with real estate?
So we do a fairly good job of aligning our plans on a yearly basis. We meet quarterly, we hold regular business meetings, and the big picture we are aligned in. There are times when some of the details get a little fuzzy. And it's interesting to me, sometimes he's more conservative and I'm more aggressive on things and vice versa. So that's, it's not always one person is more enthusiastic. But we developed a trick a few years ago that I teach people now. We on our planning process, we list our goals for the year. We break it down into quarters. We write them down in a document, or in our case, it's on a big whiteboard. And then we agree to it. And I mean, we literally agree to it. We look at that board, we shake hands, we both take pictures of it. It's on our phone. And our rule is if it's on the board, the other person has to do it. But if somebody comes in the middle of the year with a project, and often, Darcy will come and say, hey, we should flip a house. Every once in a while, he likes to get his hands busy and flip a house. And I'll think like, we don't have time to do that. So if it's not on the board, I can consider it, but I don't have to commit to it. And I have had 2 or 3 people tell me it has been a marriage saver to have that sort of, here's our plan, here's what we agree to. And then anything else we can talk about, but we don't necessarily have to agree to it. Now, I think that we came to that fairly easily because I come from a corporate world, and this is what we do in the boardroom with our team. We lay out the corporate strategy for the year and we say, here's what we're going to do. And we set up our timelines and everyone gets a scorecard and everyone understands what their jobs are for the next year. And so I think you can do this with your business partners as well as your life partner. And I also think sometimes for investors, it would be better to do this with your JV partners as well. Sometimes we don't put enough of the corporate stuff into our investing, that I think it does make sense to ensure everyone is on the same page. In setting clear expectations, having good, clear communication tools really matters. It makes a business run better, makes a relationship run better, makes a family run better.
Wow, really good advice. Thank you for sharing that. I know that there's a lot of struggles out there, or couples that want to do these things together and may run into those types of hurdles. Or maybe one person in the relationship wants to do it and the other one doesn't. Have you
Yes.
ever heard of anyone running into that problem where one person in the relationship wants to and the other one doesn't?
Absolutely. As you know, I work with a lot of female investors, and we have, there's different situations. There are single women, and I'll speak specifically on the women, but this can be men. So there's single people, there's couples who are life and business partners. Then there's the ones that have a reluctant spouse or partner that they may be trying to drag along. And then there's the last case, which is people who have a partner who is actively does not want them pursuing whatever that pursuit is. That's the hardest one. And that goes beyond business. That goes beyond us. That requires therapy for you to understand that that is probably not the person that you want to be spending your life with. The reluctant partner, and we see this so often, people want to pull their spouse or partner with them. They want them to enjoy this. And I think it's really important that you sit down and decide, what does this look like? There are some people who say, here are my boundaries. I'm happy to participate in this with you to this extent. And that might be, I'll use the house flipping. I will flip one house a year with you, but I'm not doing 10. Or it might be, I will sign for mortgages with you up to a certain amount, but I will not participate in the business at all. And so for the person who wants to be pursuing that dream, they need to understand and set their own boundaries. What matters for them? And often in the business world, I just spent the weekend with an entrepreneur who has a wonderful business. Her company is called Glasses to Go, and she is a mobile optometrist, and she goes into seniors' homes and special events and does glasses. And her husband doesn't want to be the face of the company. He provides a bunch of back-end support for her, but it is her business. And that's okay. Other people like to do it all together. But I think it is hard for the person who wants to be in business, wants their spouse or significant other to be with them, and that person doesn't want to. But we have to remember, we can't control other people's actions, only our own reaction. So sitting down and creating your own version of the board. What is it that they will contribute? What is it that they want to contribute? Maybe they want to do your taxes for you. Amen. Right? Let them. And I think that, coming to an understanding can be really, really a beautiful thing. I mean, we all just want to be happy in this, and I don't want to be pulling people in. I think that one saying that really resonates me is, I sit at tables I'm invited to. I don't want to fight my way to a table I'm not invited to. And if I don't see the table I want, then I build it myself, right? But you also don't want to have people who don't want to be sitting at your table with you. So, if perhaps you have a significant other who has zero desire to be involved in your business, then you decide. And if you really want to continue that business, you maybe don't need them to be involved, and you just separate the work from the life, and everyone's happy. And you figure out how to do the work with a different person. Go team up with a full-on business partner. It doesn't have to be that person that you live with.
Wow. Thank you for that. I think a lot of people need to hear that. A lot of people need that support and knowing that just because your spouse isn't going to do it with you doesn't mean that you're alone, that there are other people to partner with. And it doesn't mean the death of a relationship. It doesn't mean the end of, how we do things. It's respecting your boundaries as well as someone else's. And also recognizing that what you can control and what you can't, which is a huge deal in the entrepreneurial world from
Yeah.
what I've seen from my personal experiences. I can't control the weather. I can't control the market. I can't control if someone else wants to buy my property or not. I can try to manipulate that. I can try to make it as attractive as possible. I can try to get as many tenants as possible or the best tenants possible, but I can't control them. I can
Yeah.
only control myself in the way that I react to it.
And just, as you just said, you want to go find the best tenants possible. You want to find the best location possible for your business, the best facility possible. If you're a delivery driver, you want the best vehicle possible. If you're a salesperson, you want the best book of business. Why wouldn't you want the best business partner available? And I have seen some people who are, whose spouse doesn't want to participate, and they go find a business partner and they flourish in ways that they never would have if they had been working with their spouse. So you go pick the best business partner. And that's probably not someone who doesn't want to be doing that business with you.
Fair point. Love it. So I mean, how amazing is it? I think it is truly fantastic that you and Darcy are in this together. And I love the way that you structure it. This is so clever, intelligent. It's planning ahead and meeting quarterly and not just I'm going to sit down with my husband. No, I'm sitting down with my business partner and we are
Mhm.
going to discuss this and we are going to make sure we get this out of the way and come to a full understanding. That's very respectable. So, having said that, we're at the point where you've worked for an airline, you did CMHC, you are now up to owning a few properties, which kudos to you because I'm in love with California and I love the weather and I love the real estate. So you're at this point that you've started to build your portfolio. Have you ever run into a problem where it was this massive hurdle where you're just like, you had no idea what to do? Maybe you were going to give up?
Oh, yes. There are so many challenges that you can't even anticipate headed your way. We had some really tough years. When I worked in Washington, D.C., I was on an airplane every 2 weeks. And at one point during that, Darcy was working in Hong Kong and we had two kids. And we literally, I remember one day switching kids in a parking lot from car to car. So it's been a juggling act. So I think that has been one of the biggest challenges. Admittedly, we created it ourselves, but holding full-time jobs while we built our business was a big challenge. And looking back, would we do things differently? I always tell people, do as I say, not as I did. If we did it just for the money, we would have done things very differently. We would have specialized and, bought a couple of apartment buildings and been done and happy and moved on. But we enjoy the real estate so much. It's we enjoy trying new strategies and new markets. And so we just went into a new market in the US a year ago, and we went and spent a month on the ground there and just, rented a house with a pool and had a great time, working on this. So those are the sort of the self-created challenges. But then, there are other challenges that you just don't see coming. A market crash. You can imagine what 9/11 did to us. I mean, I worked for an airline and we had real estate and we were just looking at a full-time move actually to California at the time. And that became sort of impossible. So there's those type of things that happen. And then we've had things, closer to us. We've had things that happen with our family that we have chosen to, shift our focus there and let the business, take a back seat to it. We've had we've had people steal from us in our business. We had a property manager who stole tens of thousands of dollars, not quite six figures, but he stole that money from us. That's a big challenge. We've had partnership go awry, where all of a sudden you're in this situation where the partner that you're working with is no longer the person you thought they were, and you can't control that, but you still have to look after the asset or the business or whatever it is. So you find yourself in various challenges along the way. And then there are the challenges that will crop up automatically: economic cycles, changes in legislations, things like if a jurisdiction all of a sudden says no to short-term rentals, your vacation rental business in that jurisdiction is going to have some problems. Those, you just have to know, whatever business you're in, you're going to have those type of challenges, supply chain issues, all of those things. So you build in resiliency for those. I think you always need to be flexible. And as a business person, I've always believed in solving for the worst case. So you will often hear me playing the what if game. We have this building. What if, something happens? How would we solve for that? And that has sort of served me well in business as well, as a general rule, because you realize I can fix. And again, I go back to that staircase. You're not going to climb the whole staircase. You just need to figure out the steps to get out of it. So I often will ask myself, what are the first few things I would do if the absolute worst happened? How would I get out of that? And then anything else that happens is a little easier to solve.
That makes sense. I can see that. I mean, if you jump from step 2 to step 6 and something comes your way that you weren't planning for, it catches you off guard, you're not going to know how to handle it and what the ripple effects are of your actions or lack thereof in many cases as well. So that makes a lot of sense to take the appropriate steps at each time and slowly grow and learn and expand your skills at the same time. So that does make a lot of sense. Has anything ever happened where you wanted to give up or you thought you were going to lose it all?
I think that, during COVID, there was a very odd transition that I went through personally, where I didn't know. I mean, first of all, none of us knew anything, right? It was a very odd time for me because I am a planner. And so I had left my corporate job, I'm not kidding you, in January of 2020. And I had a couple of events, and I was booked to speak in New York City on March 17th, which was basically the day the world shut down, right? So I was faced with an uncertainty so great that I didn't know how to overcome that uncertainty. And it was all encompassing. And as an empath, I'm worried about, what's happening out in that world, but also, the heck am I going to do? The events were gone. How was I going to, have this business? And then people around me got very sick, and none of that mattered. And it was all hands on deck. We were worried about basic needs some days. I think all of us can relate to that there were some very hard days where we also didn't have resources around us that we were used to. We had someone in our family who was sick and literally couldn't access healthcare very well. I remember going to the hospital to meet with a specialist was terrifying. We almost wore hazmat suits. It was in those days of, we came home from the hospital and literally, took all our clothes off in the garage, and it was just so uncertain. And I find uncertainty a bit challenging as a planner, right? And I had, no control. So what did I do in those times? Well, I faced that. I said, okay, this is uncertainty. I don't like it. I don't know how to get myself through it other than to control the things I can. So get baking that sourdough, get scrubbing those baseboards, all of those things that we did. And I think that was the reaction we were all having. But it was, I can admit, and we weren't worried about putting food on the table. We lived, it was a rough storm, and we were living on a yacht, and there were some people in canoes, so I knew that we were doing okay, but it was really hard. And I just didn't know what was going to happen. And that was really hard. I didn't know what the right steps to do were. And a lot of people flourished, as we just took those little steps. All of a sudden you're like, okay, I got this. I switched, we got people well. I switched to some of the things that I could do online. We saw things like, I loved watching entrepreneurs. I quite often bought people meals from restaurants, from their favorite restaurants. The restaurants I thought did a great job of sort of doing those pivots. And you just take the small steps and all of a sudden you'll get back through it. So I think for me, that was, did I want to throw in the towel? No, but I didn't understand what I was doing. In that I couldn't see a future, which I think is sort of similar.
Yeah, I think we can all relate in that sense that things were hard. It was something we had never been through before. So it was hard to compare it to anything else and say, well, normally in this situation, I would, because it was strange all of a sudden, anything from little things that you wouldn't normally think about, like I need toilet paper and it's for some reason not there, to something really big, like I need to travel or I need to work, I need to be around people, healthcare, your life is on the line. And all of a sudden these resources are just not there. So yeah,
Yes.
it was hard. And
Yes. And it was the second time that I sort of gave up a career that had a lot of identity wrapped up in it. And so that had just happened a month or two before. Right. And so I think reinventing yourself is scary and amazing.
so then what did you do? You said that was the second time you had to give up a career and you had to move forward. So would you
Yeah.
like to talk about that?
Oh, yes. Yes. That is when our Real Power was born. And Real Power is a network for female entrepreneurs and investors where we celebrate all the things that are pink and sparkly in business. And I think it's been really powerful because working in tech, was surrounded by men all the time. But I also saw every single day these incredible women who showed up for themselves, for the people around them. And I'll never forget, I was at an event, a Women in Technology International event in San Jose. And I saw these, beautiful, quiet, introverted women who were so smart. And they didn't even see that superpower in themselves. And so I wanted to help women understand, identify their own superpowers, because women are often good at identifying it in other people and not so much in themselves. So in mid 2020, we had our first event, and we thought we would go to the mountains for the weekend and drink wine and talk real estate. And maybe we could get 10 gals together. And we ended up with 50 women in the room. We maxed it out. And then we ended up with 76 of them. We formed what we call Masked Her Mind. And so Real Power has been going now for, this will be our 6th year. And we have, online, I do coaching for women because I can bring in my business background, my real estate, the female empowerment, and we do the events, and the connections we have seen are just incredible. The first 12 months that we formed this group, the women transacted $25 million worth of real estate just with each other.
Wow.
It was so amazing, Gabrielle, to see the women. There was a very specific situation. There was a group of women who got together to buy fourplexes. And they were brave enough to do it because they met at this event. They sat at the table together. We jokingly said it's not your daddy's real estate conference. We celebrate the first tiers. We have a little fun. As I say, we do sort of, we push the envelope on the pink and sparkly stuff because I think it's important that we swing that pendulum a little too far. And, so these ladies danced together and they ended up buying fourplexes together because there was a cabinet maker there who could do the kitchens. And all of a sudden, these women felt empowered because a fourplex, you've got four kitchens. I think kitchens and bathrooms are, what sort of intimidate people on renovations. And this woman who did the kitchens was working for someone at the time. She booked so much business out of our network of females that she left her job within that 12 months. She started her own company. Then she got her husband out of his job, and they have started their own custom home building company. So that story, to see what those women did, just by putting them in the same room and sort of stirring up the right emotions in them and helping them see the strengths in each other. And we have architects, and we make them get together and learn how to look at drawings and cost out renovations. We had the amazing Sherry Coles come in and give us sets of blueprints, and we had to cost out whether it was electrical or drywall. And then, on the Saturday night, we bust out the sequins and sing some karaoke. And, as you know, but it has been amazing to see the women just flourish a little bit. Sometimes, as women specifically, we just need that little bit of a push. I was inspired by a few things, and one was a political movement called Just Ask Her. And I love this because all the political parties came together, and some strong women in politics from all sides, came together to promote more women getting into politics. And we talk about, there's that adage about the job description where women need to look at the skills and know that they match every single skill before they'll apply, whereas guys look at it and they go, oh, I can do that one thing, I'm good, and they throw in a resume. And that's part of the reason that women don't get promoted as much in the corporate world. So my background in that area really has led me to this point where I want women and young people, anyone that I work with, to understand what their unique superpower is and to use that to reach their goals and to build a lifestyle of their own design and have the business or the portfolio to support it on the other side.
That is absolutely incredible. I love that story. Building people up and helping them see what's in them this world needs a lot more of that. And admittedly, yeah, it is really hard to see the gifts that you have in yourself or your strengths or think I'm good enough.
Yes,
And I
yes.
think, yeah, women, I don't know about everybody else out there, but I'm going to speak for myself. I often find myself internalizing my personal experiences, or maybe it's physical ailments or things that I think about myself because I think no one's going to want to hear this. I just need to get the job done. I just need to just shut up and get the job done. And
Right.
so I suffer internally alone, even though I'm surrounded by people that I love. And I did attend a real power event, and it was in Niagara Falls. And
Yeah.
it was so empowering because I met some absolutely incredible women that I built relationships with. And I'm so happy that I went because I didn't know about it before. And I thought that I was alone. I felt like I was alone. And as a single woman, I didn't have, a support group around me, or none of my family and friends were into real estate investing, entrepreneurship, period. No one was into it. So I was very much alone. At least it felt like it. And then joining that event, I got to hear that I'm not alone. And maybe my childhood felt isolating for, my reasons. But then there were other women that could relate and say, hey, I had a childhood like that too. And then I thought, wow. And then they could explain, how you perceive things or how you move forward in life now that you've gone through those events or experiences and how you feel. And I just, for the first time in my whole life, I felt seen and heard.
Oh, that's beautiful. That's beautiful. And what I love the most is that you can see that because you are a woman who makes other women feel seen and heard. And yet you couldn't see and hear yourself. And there is the shame of the situation. And so if we can help you hold up that mirror and go, wait a minute, I see beauty, I see strength, I recognize, I see and I hear you, Gabrielle. How incredible is that, right? I love that. And I loved your karaoke moment, right?
Oh, I can't believe you remember that. For the record, I do not sing karaoke. That was a one-time thing. Just
But you did. You sang like a bird that night, didn't you?
I
Yeah.
did. I did. It
Yeah.
was scary though. You know what? To me, that was one of the scariest moments of my life. And I saw these, and my knees gave out. I actually had a woman on each side carrying me because I couldn't carry myself.
I
And
loved when
literally,
you shared that with me. You said, my knees gave out and these sisters on either side of me literally carried me through it. And that I think is so important. If we can meet every woman where she's at, help her level up from wherever she is at. And for some women, that is just speaking up at a table. For other women, that is facing a fear so great, singing karaoke or speaking on stage or buying their first property. Or we have had this, we had a woman get her first credit card.
that's moving.
Yes, she sat there at the table with the women and applied for her first credit card on her own. And that, there are moments at an event like that where I go, this is why I did this weekend. That was it. Seeing this woman, she was, maybe in her early 50s. She'd literally never had a credit card in her own name. And she was so emboldened and empowered that she just pulled her laptop out and did it right there. Similar to you, like, no way I don't think you ever even wanted to sing karaoke. And yet you recognized that you needed to sort of have that little push and you got up there and you did it. And you made it quite clear that you were one and done, setting that boundary.
Yes. But you know what I realized is that one, I needed to embrace what and who was around me. The love and support that was around me was what I was embracing, not singing, because for the
Right.
record, I know that I can't sing in tune and I'm terrible at that. I am no Ariana Grande by any means, but it was what it stood for. It was having the strength to eventually find my needs again and stand up on my own and say, I'm going to embrace this. I know I'm a bad singer, but I'm going to do it and I'm going to embrace it because that was one of my steps. I had to be able to be
Yes.
comfortable being uncomfortable and I had to own it. And I had to say, you know what? Either I'm going to sing it and I'm going to own it and people are going to cheer me on and give me the confidence that I need to do something else that's uncomfortable, or I'm going to shy away and regret it for the rest of my life. And so the ladies there allowed me to embrace it and to feel love and support and say, it doesn't matter if you do it perfect or not. We still love you and we're still here to support you in your journey.
So true. And I love that you said get up on your knees. We think when we fall, we have to stand up. No. And sometimes the hardest part is just getting back on your knees. But once you're on your knees, it's only one more step to get up on one foot and then the other. So that getting up on your knees is the powerful thing, right? That leads you to stand up and dust off your derriere and straighten your crown and off you go again. I think that's really important. I love that you felt that love. And I think the world would be a better place if we all felt that love. I just feel so blessed that within this community of real power that we've built, we've seen so many examples of that. And I think it's because that like attracts like. And so the fact, like you say, many of these women who have the entrepreneurial spirit felt that way, or they've run into walls. I mean, entrepreneurship is lonely. It's hard. We all talk about how amazing it is to have, be able to go pick our kids up at school. My gosh, you know how many kids have been left at school for, late? How many soccer games have been missed? Whatever it may be, by entrepreneurs because they're working their tails off. And so to be able to find people who get that, who are like you, who can understand that, and who you can talk about the hard things with, whether it's, tax tips for this year or how you manage caring for elderly parents and teenagers at the same time. I think it's really important that you find and connect with those people, and that's sort of how and why Real Power was born. And now we just sort of run alongside and try and keep up with these beautiful women with all the things that they're doing. So I thank you for singing that song because that's become a moment in my heart for sure.
Thank you for creating a safe space for me to do that.
Mm-hmm.
I never thought that Paradise City by Guns N' Roses would have such a profound meaning behind it, but it really does.
There you go. The things we learn. I love it. Good for you. When you step out of your comfort zone, you just learn so much.
Exactly. And that's something that I really wanted to touch on for those listening. I really do want to make you feel empowered or allow you to feel empowered. When you're ready to do that, you have your mind set, your emotions set, you're ready to receive. Real Power is an amazing place to embrace that and to explore that and see what you're capable of and see who else is out there. Because I also find that not all your loved ones, not all your family and or friends are going to see the world the way that you do. But finding people who do is so important because, Deanna, you said this earlier at the beginning, is that entrepreneurs are often, how did you word it? They're dreamers, they don't belong. I always got in trouble at school. I didn't listen. I was daydreaming. I was creating things in my head that were always unrealistic. I was always told I'm unrealistic in my adulthood. You are unrealistic. You can't do that. Well, guess what? In my head, I was Airbnb-ing properties in Europe before Airbnb was a thing. I was like, okay, so I had shoe boxes and I had Barbies and I had the Sears catalogs and I created apartments and I thought, okay, well, I don't want to live here forever. I just want to live here for a month or two out of the year. And then I want to go to the next one. But what if someone else lived there during that time and then vacated, although I didn't use the word vacate because I was probably 7 and that wasn't in my vocabulary. Let me stay there for the month or whatever, and then I'll move on and then they can move back in or someone else can move in. And this was the beginning of a thought process. And then, but nobody in my family or my friends, my circle of friends understood what I was saying because it was so unrealistic. But then guess what? There was someone else out there that saw that vision and created Airbnb and Verbo and Real Power and then brought these people who I call my people. Finally, I found my people who understand that I'm not unrealistic. I'm not a dreamer. I am a creator.
Yes. Amen, sister. Amen. Welcome home. There was nothing like finding that circle, finding that safe space. And the best is when it's a safe space where they inspire you to get scared. Right. And to do bigger, better, bolder, to do it in a smarter way, to do it with support. But, it really, and the other thing I think you made a great point there. Also, entrepreneurship only succeeds because we fail so often. Right? Airbnb went through how many iterations before it became a thing. We have to take chances. We have to take risks and try things that other people have never done. And that can be really scary. So when we can all get together and support each other, and that's why I think, things like this podcast, it's really important because there's somebody out there who needs to hear about 7-year-old Gabrielle with the shoe boxes. Because they were the same, or they were thinking, wow, I could create a business cleaning shoe boxes, and then get connected. So it's really important that we do this. And the other thing I will say, I didn't know that about you, and I love learning that. We need to show up every day because we don't know who needs to hear us or see us at our best, hear our story. And when you start to get to do that, magical things happen. And, people will come up to me and they'll say, I heard you say this a couple of years ago, and I went and did this thing. And I'm so amazed that something that I said that didn't seem so big and profound to me at the time was enough to just light that spark inside of them, like yours was lit with Airbnb. So I think that's a gift that we are all given in this world, and we should, exercise that a little more. So get out there and share your story. Don't think you have to wait until you're perfect to do the thing. Go start doing the thing now. Share your story. Share your failures. Share the things that were hard. Share the times that you were scared or like me, I lost my identity sort of twice. Yet I still had that northern star of what I wanted my life to look like. And a job is just a job at the end of the day. It was about all the other stuff that truly mattered.
Yeah, you learned new skills and it helped shape you to who you were going to be for the next role. And then the next role did that and helped you grow and expand and become who you were going to be to start your own business. And then gave you the experience and the ideas to say, wait a second, maybe this isn't going to work down this avenue, but if I tweak it a bit, I can do this avenue. And then it's this tidal wave of greatness. It is what you did by putting that together created a space that was safe for so many women to come together. And it's not just the women there, because their husbands, they show up and then they go off and do their husband things together while we're at those events. But when we go home, we talk to them about it. And I feel it inspires them as well. And they're able to see us shine. And someone that you and I both know and are able to call a dear friend once told me that when you do what you do best, something that you're really good at, you shine.
Yes.
And I didn't understand the glitter in the event thing. I am not a shiny person, but I can tell you I got it now. I have a shirt that is all bedazzled and it is gold and it is for that next event that I go to, because when I saw that, I was like, that's what that's for. It's for real power. And it's waiting, because I'm going to show that shirt off like I own the room when I walk in, and I'm going to own it. But not only that, those little teeny things, like you said, you don't realize it in the moment, but it stays with you and it stays in the back of your mind. And then one day it makes sense. One day it clicks and you realize that that is one puzzle piece to a jigsaw puzzle that you didn't know that you needed. And it comes in at the right time. And that's when you're able to shine. And it's because I went to that event that I was able to sing. I was able to make those connections and make those friends. And it gave me the confidence to start with real estate investing and meet the people that I did, and change my circle of friends to a whole bunch of people that I had never met before, which led me ultimately to this podcast, believe it or not.
Oh, so fun to be on the journey with you.
Thank you. And it's what you did was just, and still is, absolutely incredible. And it has helped shape me to who I am, because prior to that, I never went in front of a room and spoke in a microphone. And now I'm doing it every day.
Look at that. Now we will know, I'm saying this to all of your gentle listeners, we will know that our work here is done when she belts out Paradise City on this microphone one day.
Good point.
We'll see.
So Deanna, moving forward with our journey, with your journey, sorry. You got real power going on. What else is going on in the life of Deanna Boyden?
Oh, well, I love what I get to do every day with Real Power and with the ladies that I work with there. I live by the F words. The Great Rev Tour taught me these F words years ago, and we've I've added to them, but the things that matter in life, family, friends, faith, fun, fitness, finding and learning, and for others. So I'm, this year, two of the words that have popped up for me are abundance. And so there's three words: abundance, peace, and simplify. And so it's really about enjoying time. Darcy has retired from his full-time job, and we're just focusing on fun parts of our business that we want to work on, and trying to give back a little bit more. I have been named to a housing committee for the city of Calgary that I'm really honored to be able to get to do some work there. Things like that um, you know when you can start to use your experience, when you realize all that crap I went through, all the things I've learned can actually help more people, it's really joyful to get to share some of that. And we're traveling, we're on the road the next, the next 2 months. I know where I'm at. And then month 3, it starts to get a little hazy. So what an amazing way to live.
That does sound amazing, and that is definitely a goal to work toward for sure. Traveling is so much fun, seeing the world. Did you know that you're about to learn something else about me you didn't know? I have only one thing on my bucket list. That's it.
Oh,
And I don't ever
okay.
plan on adding to it.
Okay. What
I
is
want
the
to I want to see every animal that you would normally see in the zoo in its natural habitat.
That is beautiful. Oh my goodness. So that is a lot of trips. Amazing. What a fun bucket list item.
Mhm.
Amazing. Good for you.
Well, I'm so happy for you that you get to live the life that you've built and make your dream a reality. And you and Darcy get to do this together. And there we go. Um, I'm so happy for you and I'm so proud of you. And I want you to keep going. And I'm always here to cheer you on.
Thank
I do
you.
have one request, if that's okay, for our listeners. If you could give them a piece of advice and tell them there's one step on that ladder or staircase that they could
Mhm.
take today to make their dreams a reality, what would you suggest to our listeners?
I would say that take the small step in front of you and take the next small step in front of you. Never say no. You know, taking whatever step is there, opportunity arrives on a whisper. Don't wait. Do not wait. Take the step. Because I've seen too many people wait for what they think they should do next. But often it's the things that pop up that are right there that are going to move you closer to that goal. And I don't always know why it is that people, let life go by without being in movement. So just get going. Take that first step, then take the next. Doesn't have to be grand, doesn't have to be perfect. Take messy action, take small steps, and celebrate. For the love of all things holy, celebrate when you take that step. Clap yourself on the back. Tell your friends, tell me about it. Reach out to me or to Gabrielle, and we will celebrate with you. If you get up there and you sing the karaoke song, if you reach out to a person that you admire, if you go look at a property, if you sit down and write a business plan, that's one little step towards your dreams. Don't let anything stop you from taking those small steps, please. Life is just too damn short.
That's really good advice. And if people do want to reach out to you and share their wins or learn more about Real Power and learn more about Deanna Boyden, how do we get in touch with you?
Yes, so you can find me on the socials, Deanna Boyden, or real-power.com, Real Power Ladies on Instagram. I can't wait to hear from everyone. I'd love to have conversations. And if you don't know your superpower, call me and I'll help you figure it out.
Oh, wow, you are incredible. And she's not lying. She is absolutely amazing at that. So I would definitely encourage you to reach out. Deanna, if I say promote yourself, what do you have going on right now to promote yourself, and let us know what you've got on the go right now or what's coming up.
Oh, great. Okay, yes. Well, if you follow me on the socials, you'll find me on a stage, a few times a month across North America. This is kind of fun. I'm speaking on a cruise in a couple of weeks. Yeah, so that's kind of fun. But we also have our mastermind is starting up right away. So check that out on Real Power. We meet a couple times a month. It's all online. And we have speakers on all facets of being a holistic entrepreneurial woman. And I think it's really important. So we might be talking about, how to use AI to create your brand, or we might be talking about succeeding as both an entrepreneur and a caregiver at the same time. Because it is important that we talk about the holistic woman when we talk about this. So I think, let's start a conversation, join our mastermind, get into this sisterhood that, we've got these incredible women who are doing incredible things every day, following dreams, making ripples in this world. And everyone is entitled to make ripples in this world. So we'd love to help you make yours.
That's amazing. Thank you so much. And I will be sure to share all your information online as well. So anyone that does want to find Deanna's information, you can find it on her website. Deanna, thank you from the bottom of my heart for joining me. It has been an absolute pleasure. I always love hearing from you.
Thank you so much. I'm so thrilled that you invited me. And you should just be so proud that you have launched this, and the good that you are going to do with this podcast is immeasurable, both for yourself, but for, the people that you will touch. And I know you're stretching on your comfort level on this. I know that. And I love seeing that because it puts joy on your face and we can hear it in your heart. So I'm touched to be here and to share with your tribe. And I'm excited to see, how this all comes together. So thank you so much for having me.
This is the PowerHaus Podcast with Gabrielle Caine. Know someone who should be on the show? Email info@powerhouspodcast.com. Until next time, do one thing differently today.